Good afternoon. How you all doing? My name is Stan Vanderwerf, and welcome to the Peak News. I'm guest hosting today for The Watchman, Chaim Goldman, and you're listening to AM 1460 and FM 101.1, The Answer. We're also live streaming on Facebook at The Peak News Media and YouTube at The Peak News. The Peak. This is where we say the quiet stuff out loud. Now, The Peak News is a truth-telling and First Amendment defending broadcast and internet news source for citizens of the Pikes Peak region, and we invite you to join us as a citizen journalist, technician, intern, guest, and or sponsor. All of the info is on our website at www.thepeaknews.news. Now, this is brought to you by Springs Dentist and Dr. Craig Summer, Holistic Dentistry in Colorado Springs. And we thank our sponsors for all the help that they do for this radio program. Okay, our show today is going to be focusing on the state legislature and some of the great things that, some of the challenges that we have with the state legislature, but we're also going to talk to Sean Verhoeff, who is vice chair of Young Republicans, and we're going to talk today about the success of Young Republicans that's taking place in the Colorado Springs area and also actually across the state of Colorado. So I'd like to introduce our guest here. When again, we have Sean Verhoeff. And welcome to Peak News. Would you like to say a little thing starting off?
Well, thank you for having me, Stan, and it's good to be here with you. I'm a small business owner here in the Springs, as well as the vice chair of the Colorado Young Republicans. So thank you for having me.
That's great, Sean. And I tell you what, I appreciate that you're here. I think we're going to have a great program today. And you live in the area. You live in Fountain. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, outstanding. So on today's program, we're going to be featuring local headlines. We have a feature commentary, commentary number one, that I think will be really, really interesting. And then we will go on to the interview, and we'll talk more with Sean about what he's doing with Young Republicans. We'll have a feature commentary number two. And then, of course, we'll finish up with Peak Rants with Just a Guy, Jim Miller. Okay, so again, thanks to all our sponsors, and please thank them for bringing you the Peak by patronizing their business. I'm Stan Vanderwerf, and you're listening to The Peak on AM 1460, FM 101, The Answer. And after a short break, it'll be time for our weekly theme headlines and commentary for our guests. We have just a few more minutes, and I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the topics that we have. And I think that they're going to be really wonderful. For our segment number three, this is our first feature. We're going to talk about the activities with Senate Bill 25003. This is the bill in the Colorado State Legislature that has the intention of highly restricting or possibly removing our rights to own any guns that have a magazine. In our interview, we're going to talk about with Sean Verhoeff, about the goals of Young Republicans, how many members they have, how they're growing, some of their recent achievements, and a whole bunch of other great topics that I think will be really, really interesting. And then in our feature number two, segment 5, we're going to talk about an initiative in the state of Colorado to do a wolf repeal of the current law that is introducing wolves into the state. And then after that, we'll talk for a few minutes. I have a topic that's very important to me, and that is the fact that we do have a real problem in the state of Colorado, and it's our legislature, because they keep writing laws that interfere with citizens' lives. And that's a super big issue for me. I do want to mention, for those of listeners that may know me, I did spend 8 years as an El Paso County Commissioner. It was a wonderful job to have. I loved it. And I fought so many battles with the Colorado State Legislature. We did pick up our efforts and enhanced and did more work in the state of Colorado. Being the largest county in the state of Colorado, that was very, very important for us to take a leadership role in the state. And we did a lot of work working on challenges that we had with the state legislature. Many of these were unfunded mandates. Colorado writing a law and then asking local government to pay for it. And what I found, what I discovered is that this is a big issue for local government. When we are forced to fund a law from the state of Colorado, that's another pothole or road that we cannot fix. And this was a bipartisan thing. So All right. At this point, we'll stop and we'll go on to the next segment here in just a few minutes. Thank you very much, everybody, and I look forward to talking with Sean Verhoeff.
Okay. Take a deep breath. Relax.
Yeah.
I want you to be Stan.
Yeah.
Okay. You know how
That's
to
me.
talk. You know how to talk. You know how to schmooze.
Yeah.
So.
And I went so fast
You
that
went so fast that you were out of time. You know. You were out of time,
I used up the time and I had to make stuff up, which I did.
No, we do that all the time on the radio. That's why it's great because it's just voice. You don't need video. You can just think of a topic and talk on it.
Yeah.
So watch the ahs. You hear a lot of ahs. So when you want to pause, just pause. You don't have to fill the space with an ah.
Okay.
So I'm just hearing that, but you probably have no idea that you did it.
I have no idea that I did it. Yeah.
So I want to make you conscious of it, but not subconscious.
Yeah. Okay.
So just know that was coming up a lot, but just take a deep breath, relax, and have fun because I mean you're used to speaking in front of people, but I know that the mic, it's like you don't know who your audience is, and so but just imagine whatever audience you want, and just talk to them because you've done this a lot before. So,
Sure.
So that's it. Otherwise, now you can have Sean help carry the stuff. Because he's really the guest and going through all that. But yeah, watch your timing and try to pace yourself out. There is that music playing, so it's fine to end early, but you don't have to.
Okay.
Generally, you want to take it at least until 10 seconds before the end, or else you just have music playing.
And we're
not a music station.
You can always ask, like, what's your opinion on that if you need help.
Oh, yeah.
Giving a statement.
Yeah.
Back to him. But anyway, Facebook, this is behind the scenes. This is what we're doing as we're taking people from the community and teaching them how to do radio. And you can do that too. So join us at thepeak.news and you could be on the mic also. You'll see over the course of the hour, you'll go through it's like going through the crucible. That's why I just like throw you out there.
Super duper.
You'll get each segment will feel more natural. But just overall, just take a breath and talk.
Does he need the info for the call-in to announce him beforehand?
Yeah.
But that's not until the next segment.
Well, that's
So tell him he can handwrite that in. So
is that. Let's see.
Can you?
How much time you got?
Let's make sure we've got the right segment for that. Okay, that's segment 3, feature 1.
Right.
Okay, so let's. Who is the guy?
Ted Collins,
No, just read it to him.
Oh, Ted. Colin.
owner of Spartan Defense Armory. Vice President of Colorado Federal Firearms License Association.
That's a mouthful.
What's his name? Ted Collins.
Does he go by Teddy though, right?
Yeah, but well, that's what he put here though. When I specifically asked for
He
his name,
wants
he said-
Ted. Okay.
he said Ted.
Now, how do I?
And he's also the co-host of the Second Syndicate.
Yeah,
podcast.
skip. That's too much stuff.
Okay.
Okay.
He can mention
Now he didn't say about rally name, even though I.
Okay, so you can ask him. So you're host.
So I'll-
There you
I'll-
go. Protect the 2A. The 2A is the.
Is that the name of the rally? Okay. And if you have time and you think of it, Stan, you can ask them like, do you have a website or so? At the end when you get down to the last 30 seconds.
Big enough 30 seconds still.
Okay.
We're about 30 seconds, so you guys are going to give me. Actually, when I start listening to the music, I start the
Okay,
timer.
Remember, put your hand up there so you remember to punch the clock. Okay.
Okay.
Enjoy segment 2.
Thank you. All right, welcome back to our great program today, the Peak News. And thanks for joining us on our weekly broadcast here. Tuesday is Political Tuesday. And today we have our Young Republicans representative for us, and I'm Stan Vanderwerf, and guest hosting for the Watchman, Chaim Goldman. This segment is about headlines, and let's talk a little bit about several things that have been happening in Colorado. I've got 3 articles for you today. The first one is our Congressman Jeff Crank's ask to move the Small Business Association Region 8 from Denver to Colorado Springs. The second article is about the North Nevada corridor getting ready for revitalization. And Article 3 will be the fact that Colorado needs nuclear energy now. So let's talk a little bit about these things. And first of all, before we go any further, I'd like to once again introduce Sean Verhoeff to the program. And I'm looking forward to a little bit of an engagement with you on these 3 topics.
Absolutely. It's going to be good. And I think it's about time that the Small Business Administration come to Colorado Springs. It's a good location for it. It'll be good.
Outstanding. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well. So I'm going to talk a little bit about a Denver Gazette article where Jeff Crank was interviewed, and he is recommending that we move the Small Business Administration Region 8 office, which actually is the office for several states in the northern United States, including Colorado, to move its Denver office down to Colorado Springs over the issue of sanctuary cities. And so he did say this, and I do have a quote here. It's sanctuary state and city policies have consequences, and moving the SBA out of Denver is a prime example. It is important that SBA offices are located not in major cities dominated by large corporations and runaway governments, but in locations where safety is prioritized and innovation propels the local economy. And Crank here, I think it was not too long ago, had a pretty tense exchange when he was questioning Denver Mayor Mike Johnson during a House committee hearing that focused on the city's policies that relate to federal immigration enforcement and their concepts around sanctuary cities. So, Sean, what do you think about the congressman's recommendation to move this down to Colorado Springs? You actually mentioned a little bit already, but talk a little bit more about it.
So I think that it's going to be a good thing for the small business, for it to be stationed here in Colorado Springs. I mean, realistically, Colorado Springs has a lot more of a grasp on what the actual state of Colorado needs, especially for small business owners like myself. So I think it'll be good for the state of Colorado to have it put in the Springs rather than Denver.
I think that's a great comment. We do have an enormous number of small businesses here in the Colorado Springs area. I don't know what that number is in total, but I know we have 5,000 nonprofits in the Colorado Springs area, and it would be wonderful to have the Small Business Administration Region 8 here. And from here, we can support all the other states, which includes North and South Dakota and several states north of Colorado. So it's a great region that has a lot of small businesses, but it really should not be in a city where it's it can be a dangerous place for small businesses to operate.
Oh, I couldn't agree more.
Outstanding. Well, let's move on to the second topic, which is ground zero for the city of Colorado Springs, the next big idea. And this was written by Vince Bidzek in March 9. It's a Gazette article, and he was talking about revitalizing the North Nevada Avenue corridor, which now is the focus of a new Colorado Springs development. Now, this is very interesting because several years ago, I was recommending to a lot of people that this area be enhanced to become a university-affiliated research and development center because of its close proximity to UCCS. This is actually a key issue, whereas it relates to us competing with other cities around the country for making sure that we have good, strong growth and innovation going on. This is something that I think that is a place that's ripe for revitalization. And there's been a panel that was recently created operating under the auspices of the Urban Land Institute, which envisions a vibrant area with supercharged with tech incubators and startups, restaurants, open space, and creative industries, a health clinic, and of course, adding into that the coffee culture and a dedicated bus line and light rail were some of the topics that they discussed for this area. But its proximity to UCCS is also very interesting. So, Sean, what do you think about kind of that revitalization of the North Nevada corridor?
Well, I think that's very vital to our community. I mean, the thing about it is, it's like when is the community's age. You have to come up with some sort of new innovative way to bring business back in and grow the community. And frankly, it's what shows the health of the community in Colorado Springs, to be specific.
I would agree with you. And on good, bad, or indifferent, that area right now really has not benefited from a lot of innovation, a lot of renovation, and there's some older structures and older types of product companies that are there. So a revitalization would be wonderful. Let's move on to Article 3 now, which is a new perspective in the state of Colorado, where Colorado really does need nuclear power. This is also a Gazette article. And I'm going to quote a few things from one of the sponsors, Senator Larry Liston. And this is Senate Bill 25-1040, which is adding nuclear energy as a clean resource. Now, nuclear energy in the past, because of technology, has been difficult to gain traction in the state of Colorado because some of the older technologies needed a lot of water had to consume water for that nuclear energy production. But there's new technologies that don't require that, and that's why this is now really important. The great news about this is that this has passed through the Colorado House of Representatives on a bipartisan vote and is now introduced to the Senate. So what it's doing is it's actually adding the term nuclear energy to the statutory definition of clean energy, which is something I've always thought of nuclear energy as clean energy. So this is just something that's common sense. Sean, what do you think about this?
Oh, I mean, it's absolutely vital. I mean, you've got with our rural communities and our high price of electricity as of recent with the green energy mandates, I think it's absolutely necessary to make it where we've got a lot cleaner energy and a lot better energy for the state of Colorado. And it's going to ultimately affect the utility payers, which is going to be a benefit for everybody.
Yeah, I would agree with you entirely. And there's some really interesting facts about nuclear energy. It's been viable and safe and ready for use for a long time. Just the water issue was part of the challenge in Colorado. But for our listeners who might not know, France has been using nuclear power to generate almost all of its nuclear energy for more than 40 years. So nuclear energy has been a good and safe energy production process. And this is in contrast to wind and solar, which cannot produce baseline power that runs 24/7 because for solar, you have to have the sun out. And for wind, you have to have the wind blowing. Now, we do have a lot of wind in Colorado. So wind power can be helpful, but these are not reliable sources of power, but nuclear absolutely is. So what's your thoughts about kind of comparing wind and solar to nuclear?
I think that altogether, all of the above is good. You've got a lot of solar and wind production, especially out on the Eastern Plains, which has been vital to those communities out there. But I think overall, nuclear power, which is going to be a nice leveling system to make the consistency that we need in the power grid in order to make it more affordable for the citizens.
I think that's a great point. And I also know that one of the challenges that we have about trying to go to renewable sources of energy, wind and solar and so forth, is the massive infrastructure requirements of that, the massive amounts of power distribution lines, and the country's not ready for those kinds of things. And there's a lot of oil consumption usage in order to build these kinds of products. The solar panels are expensive to build. These wind generators have an extensive amount of steel and other machinery in them, and they consume a lot of different kinds of oil-based products. All right, so I'm Stan Vanderwerf, and you're listening to The Peak on AM 1460 and FM 101.1. The Answer. We'll be right back with Sean Verhoeff and the Young Republicans. Are we off the air?
I believe we're still live on YouTube.
We'll stand by.
Okay, we got Ted on the line. So I told him to leave gaps in between his thoughts when he's talking, so that if you need to cut in, you're allowed to. If we're coming close on the bumper, he might not hear it, so it's up to you to cut in and be like, "Hey, we're running low on time," and cut him off.
Okay, great.
And you can, if there is time, ask him, you know, for his website or whatever, if he wants to say anything.
Retail.
What? Okay. Enjoy. Okay. It's getting better. You're warming up.
Excellent. All right. Welcome back to the program. My name is Stan Vanderwerf. We have in the studio today Sean Verhoeff from Young Republicans, but we also have a special guest today, and that is Ted Collins, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about the happenings going on at the state capitol in Colorado with regard to Second Amendment rights, specifically with regard to Senate Bill 25003. Now, Ted Collins is owner of the Spartan Defense Armory. He's vice president of the Colorado Federation of Firearms Coalition, and he helped to put together and led the Protect the Second Amendment rally that took place and is probably still ongoing today at the state capitol. And this morning was the beginning of testimony for the amended Senate Bill 25003. And before I release this to Ted, I want to quote something here from our minority leader for Rose Puglisi in our House. She represents House District 14, and she says that this bill seeks to prohibit the sale, purchase, manufacture, distribution, or transfer of semi-automatic and gas-operated firearms with detachable magazines. In its current form, Senate Bill 25003 also introduces a new firearms training and safety course system requiring individuals to obtain a firearms safety course eligibility card after completing background checks and safety training. Now, this has a whopping $2.3 million fiscal note tied to it to enact the legislation using taxpayer dollars to fund infringements upon our rights. And that's a quote from Rose Puglisi. So, Ted, if you're on the line, would you like to talk a little bit about the rally and our Representative Puglisi's comments? Well, that's really unfortunate. You know, I just wish that the legislature would listen to freedom people across the state of Colorado, and this is certainly one of these areas that has been a big challenge for us. There's been a lot of legislation coming out of the state legislature over the last few years with regard to gun control. So when you talk about people testifying in the hearing today, what kinds of numbers are we looking at? How many people? Oh, thank you for that update. That's very disheartening. I can imagine why they're doing that, because they have over a $700 million funding shortfall in the state budget. But it's, in my humble opinion, it seems inappropriate to try to put it over to Colorado Parks and Wildlife. I also know that the training requirements that was one of the more recent amendments to this bill will cost Colorado citizens an enormous amount of money as well. because in order to be able to buy or sell these kinds of handguns, you have to take that training requirement and carry a card. That's expensive, and it's also an issue about the state having information about you as a gun owner. So what's your comments to that? Yep. Thank you. Thank you, Ted. Yeah, thank you, Ted. I appreciate your dialing in, and we now need to go to a break. Thank you very much.
That was real good. Aren't those good? The call-ins from the Capitol, I really like. They're good radio.
That worked. Yeah.
You know, calling in from a live place, it's cheap and good content and people on the scene. So, okay, so it's good.
Yeah.
Let's move along. So now it's cruising into your interview. So you carry this.
Absolutely.
So now it's time for you to carry it.
I didn't want to ask you about that, Senate Bill 003, but we just didn't have the time. So
Yeah, I kind of saw that.
yeah.
Okay, this is a quick break. This is just 2 minutes.
Okay.
Okay. Wonderful. I'll be back at the next break with your with the guest, with the next guest for the next show.
Sweet.
All right. Thank you very much, and welcome back. This is Stan Vanderwerf, your guest host here, listening to The Peak on AM 1460 and FM 101. And today we're going to talk to Sean Verhoeff about Young Republicans. We've introduced him earlier, but this is our segment where we're going to interview him about what's going on with Colorado Young Republicans. And I'm really looking forward to this. Sean, you were a key part of really getting this back up and running again. And I'm sure you'll talk a little bit about that. So let's go ahead and get started. So my first question for you, Sean, is how did you get involved in this?
So I actually got involved back in 2012. I was at that time the state treasurer of the Young Republicans. We had some good wins, pushing into 2014, getting Senator Gardner elected in 2014 was kind of our first start off with it. And then I decided it'd be a good idea to go enlist into the Army. And then I took a little bit about a 10-year break from Colorado politics. And
Thank you for your service, by the way.
Oh, absolutely. And then upon coming back home from the Army, I got a couple of friends of mine were like, hey, we really need your help getting the Young Republicans started again. And so from there, it was 5 people in a Zoom meeting, and we went from 5 people in a Zoom meeting to 14 chapters, now 8 elected officials, as well as almost 500 members across the state. So it's been
wow.
good.
That's seriously, that's really impressive. And I'm sure that has happened at least in part because of your leadership and I think your ability to recruit others into Young Republicans. But we do have a lot of other great people in Young Republicans, and this is kind of the new wave of conservatism that's starting to take root across the country, but also taking place here in Colorado and also in El Paso County. So I wanted to ask the question, what are the young Republican goals? What are some of the things that young Republicans want to achieve?
So we are hyper focused this year. We're starting to work on getting the school board elections and the local city council races. That's been a big focus for several of our chapters across the state, as well as we're also looking at voter drives this year because we're looking at how do we turn the needle back to the Republican side, and it starts with re-registering those independents and those independent thinking Democrats back to the Republican side as well. So it starts with that, and our goals are pretty ambitious. We want to go knock 200,000 doors next year. We were really successful and knocked 35,000 this year with the small amount of folks we had. I think if we continue the rate of growth that we've had, which I don't think would be too hard, I think we can definitely hit knocking 200,000 doors this year.
Wow, that is a huge number. I hope you reach that goal.
Oh, wow.
And what is the point of knocking on those doors? What's the message that you're trying to convey to these folks?
The politics starts at the doorstep, and I mean it's a personal thing where you want to talk to people about your beliefs and get to know their issues. And when you're seeing those people at their doorstep and getting to know them, you're being able to see what their issues are and how the Republican values that we have are able to mold to their values, and that's when we really get the voter turnout to getting them to the polls and voting for the conservative candidates.
Outstanding. And just as a reminder to everybody, we're talking with Sean Verhoeff, the vice chair of the Colorado Young Republicans. Now, you kind of hinted at it already, Sean, about the number of members. But why don't you go a little bit more into the depth of that? I heard a number 500. That might be what you have today. And what are your plans for what you want to grow to? Or just talk a little bit more about membership.
So we've got two real ways to go with our members. So we've got our paid members. It's a $19 fee that the Colorado Young Republicans pay per member. And then we have what's called affiliate members. Now, these are people who come to our events, who get to enjoy the social hours that we have, some of the trainings that we do, and a lot of the other things. But we have both paid members and affiliate members for the Young Republicans. And if you include the affiliate members, we're probably closer to about the 1,000 number. But we've got about 400 to 500 paid members right now.
Oh, that's outstanding. I think I could probably count myself as an affiliate member. I've been to several of your events, the Young Republican events that are in the local area here. And I actually want to talk about that a little bit as well. You have chapters, I believe, and these are perhaps like county level chapters. So how many of those do you have? And is that actually a thing going on with Young Republicans?
So we have 14 county chapters statewide. Right now, our goal is to double that across the state. We've got several counties across the state that have one or two people that are really excited about getting the Young Republicans going. There's just like the Republican Party, there's a process in order to start a club. So they've got to have 7 members in their club before they can be officially chartered. And then they have to have a bylaws meeting where they basically get the rules of the organization of what they can do and the do's and don'ts of their organization before they are officially chartered.
Great. And you talked about an official charter. So there's the Colorado Young Republicans, then there's local chapters. And I didn't ask you this previously, but is there a national Young Republican?
There is. And actually, we've been asked to potentially host an event in 2026 for national. We're currently going through the process right now to see what the bids would be for that and if it's a good idea for us to do it. But it's looking like there's a potential that we could actually have a Young Republicans national event in summer of 2026 here in Colorado.
Wow, that's outstanding. I've got a bunch of other questions, and I'm going to ask those. But right now, I think what I'd like to do is give you an opportunity to tell the listeners how they could get engaged or maybe sign up as a member. So how do they reach out to Young Republicans to do that? I'll ask that again also at the end of the interview.
So we are on all social medias. We're on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, all of it. They can reach us at just about Colorado YRS is the key to look up for those, as well as we do have a website that will also direct you to all of our social media at coloradoyrs.com.
coloradoyrs.com. There you are. Okay. Now, you talked a little bit about some of the achievements, but let's go a little more in depth into the achievements of Young Republicans in the state of Colorado and point a few things out for us.
So our big achievements was last year we got 35,000 doors knocked across the state, and we out of those 35,000 doors we knocked, we were able to get the state house out of the superminority, and we got 8 elected young Republican officials. And then one of our really recent achievements is we've gotten 21 elected YRs to Republican leadership across the state. So the young Republicans are really taking charge and trying to get involved with the young Republican leadership and making some changes there.
Oh, that's outstanding. Now, you talked about events, so and I think you've got something coming up this Saturday, but you may have other events that you'd like to talk about. But start with the event coming up on Saturday, and then let the listeners know if you've got other events planned as well.
So right now, our big event that we've got going on next Saturday is the Young Republican State Convention. Just like the Republican Party, we have a convention to go over bylaws and elect the state officers. Interestingly enough, it's my reelection that I'm running for vice chair again this time around. So, but yeah, we've got that up in Sterling at the Northwestern College, and it's going to be at 10 a.m. in Sterling at the college. So go to coloradoyrs.com to get more information to attend as well.
Great.
It's going
Now,
to be a good event.
who can attend? Can it be any young person in Colorado, or do they have to be registered as a Republican, or does it have to be somebody that's already signed up and a member? Who can attend?
So anybody can attend these things. To have voting rights in it, you had to have been elected a bonus member from your specific county. And those elections happened over the last month. So to have any voting rights, it has to be one of those elected people. But anybody can attend. We do ask that at any of our non-members that show up, pay a little bit for the dinner, because there's going to be a pulled pork dinner, and please RSVP online. So it's going to be good having a pulled pork dinner for anybody there. But if they're not a member, it's just a $50 fee for the dinner. So hopefully help us fundraise a little bit. And the cool thing about this is we're trying to get all of the state party chair candidates to show up, as well as we've got a special guest with Congressman Gabe Evans is also going to be there.
Oh, that's awesome. Wow. I think that would be fascinating to listen to those candidates, and also to Congressman Evans. It'd be really fantastic.
Oh, it's looking like it's going to be a great event. We're really looking forward to it.
Super. Now, are there other events that you've got out there coming up?
So we pulled an event about once every quarter. We're starting the process in the next couple of weeks of getting our summer event for the state scheduled. It has to go through a process for that, but we're looking at having a pretty big summer event sometime this summer. We're also working with Rocky Mountain Voice, and they've got a convention going on this summer as well that we're working on.
Great. And I think I was at your summer event this last year, and that was a lot of fun. A lot of young people, a lot of enthusiasm and energy. And what's the month likely that will be held? Is that like July?
It's probably going to be in July or August.
July or August. Okay, great. Now, I think one of the other things that young Republicans are doing is helping candidates. So talk a little bit about some of the candidates that you've been able to help.
So, I mean, we've got Colby Zipper, the chair of El Paso County, who was really instrumental in organizing a slew of volunteers to get Rebecca Kelty elected this year and help flip that House minority. So we do a lot of that. We have trainings available for candidates to help them be better candidates. We have classes on how to fundraise, how to present yourself better as a candidate. We do all of that, as well as stuff like this, where we have actually training on how to do news appearances, because those are things that, as you're getting up from a young candidate, you're going to have those experiences where you're going to see what's your first time on the news or something like that. So it's good stuff.
Outstanding. And I think some young Republicans have in the past run for office. Some might be running now, and some may have successfully won an election. So talk a little bit about young Republicans that are members of the Colorado Young Republicans that are considering running, or are running, or have been successful in running.
So, I mean, and the ones that are about to run, we really can't disclose it because of campaign finance, but we've got 8 young Republicans elected across the state, to include Corey Applegate and Jarvis Caldwell.
Thank you very much. And I'm sorry, but we're out of time. When we come back, we're going to go through our rant a little bit. And of course, we'll complete the broadcast with Just a Guy, Jim Miller, with Peak Rants. I'm Stan Vanderwerf, and you're listening to The Peak at AM 1460 FM 101.1. I forgot we have one more segment to do. We don't go straight to rant. We do one more segment.
What's the last segment?
Repeal the wolf.
Oh, gotcha. That's so bad.
Okay, so in this, it's 7 minutes and 30 seconds total, but you only have 5 minutes of that because the last 2 minutes and 30 are for Jim. So what I would do is have my hand close to that timer over there. As soon as you hear the music start, hit that and then run it till 5 minutes, and then I'll be doing the same over on my end, so I'll still give you the countdowns in case.
And I do the segment 5, feature 2, and my rant. I have 5 minutes total for all of it.
Well, okay, so the rant is Jim's rant, basically.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you can do a rant if you want to fit that in there, but
I had a rant, but it's all good.
What do you want to? Did you promo? What did you promo? Promo Jim.
I did mention Jim.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I talked about we're coming back to the rant, but actually, feature 2 is repealing wolf. I want to make sure I say that.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
I'll
and
focus
mention-
on
and
wolf.
then Jim Miller,
Yeah.
So that's for segment 6 when you're doing when you're doing the next,
Right.
tomorrow and the next day.
Okay. Super duper.
So it's just when you throw to him, it's Jim Miller, just a guy, and the peak rants.
Okay.
And that can be as simple as that. Well, you don't have to say what he's going to talk about. He'll intro it.
Okay. Thank you.
How'd it go?
I thought it went great.
Oh, good segment.
I thought that was a great segment.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I thought we did well. I thought we did very well.
Mm-hmm. I thought that went great.
Yeah.
All right. This is Stan Vanderwerf. I'm back with you, and we're here with Sean Verhoeff from Young Republicans. What I want to talk about a little bit right now is a thing that's happening in Colorado with regard to the law that is forcing the introduction of wolves. There is a team of citizens right now, and I happen to be one of those in Colorado, that is working on a ballot measure to repeal the wolf introduction law that went into effect a few years ago. Now, in December of 23, 10 wolves were released into the state of Colorado, and in January of 25, another 15 were released. And these wolves are already creating havoc with our ranchers. Last week at the Colorado Parks and Wildlife Board, they had to approve over $300,000 in reimbursements for depredations. Depredation is a term about wolves killing cattle. And this law harms ranching, hunting, places CPW in a difficult position because they normally tried to work with ranchers, but now they're being forced to introduce wolves that produces a collision with ranchers. And also, I'll make the point that the introduction of these wolves is unfair to the wolf. They come from, the last 15 came from Canada, where they were living their lives in a natural setting. We took them out of that natural habitat in Canada and placed them into Colorado, where they are guaranteed to be engaged in conflicts with humans. Now, there was an experiment done on this also that started in 2005 in Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming, and we can actually see all the harm it has done. Basically, those wolves that were introduced in those states has completely devastated the hunting industry there. It's taken out a lot of the animals that hunters were using, and the outfitters, many of the outfitters have had to leave the high country in those states and either just shut down or move to a different location. But it's also harmed the ranchers and done a lot of other harm to the wildlife in those locations. So our wildlife deserves a science-based management on which CPW was doing before this law was enacted. So there's a way that you can help. You can go to smartwolfpolicycolorado.com. That's smartwolfpolicyco.com to get involved or to donate. This citizen ballot measure will require a lot of signatures on a ballot that's going to take place this year. And the vote for this will take place in November of 2026. The primary purpose of the ballot measure is just simply to stop for any further reintroduction of wolves and to do some other smaller cleanup on the law. So this is very important that we do this. These are people that had a different kind of an agenda that is really now harming several of our industries, our ranching industry and our hunting industry. And many people refer to this forced introduction of wolves as ballot box biology. So I just thought I'd give Sean an opportunity if you want to make a comment or two about repealing the wolf introduction law.
I think it's absolutely vital, and I think that the thing about it is you can't just go down to the sale barn and replace a cow. And the cost that these ranchers are getting reimbursed is minimal compared to what they should be reimbursed for the cattle integration of that, as well as it's also costing the state for those hunting permits that they're losing. So,
yep, I would agree with you. And there are some things that the ranchers can't be reimbursed on. One of these things is the reduced amount of calving because the wolf scares that herd. And part of their natural response to that is to calve less. And also the quality of the meat goes down, and these animals really are harmed by that. But also the wildlife is harmed. In that experiment in Idaho, the elk is devastated, the mountain lion is devastated. All these other animals have been basically almost completely hunted out by the wolves. So that's a real problem. So right now I'd like to go to the Peak Rants with just a guy, Jim Miller, and his take on his topic. We have a 3-minute break.
Okay, so for this next segment, basically the bumper's going to start. I'm going to point you in as soon as the bumper begins, and you're going to start talking.
Okay.
Sick.
Yeah. So as soon as you point to me, I start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm
Okay.
going to be pointing way earlier than I normally do.
Roger that. Okay. There's the reason for that is there's not music on this segment. I go straight into this. That's why it's a little different. All right. Thank you for joining us for the Peak News today. We hope that you enjoyed our hyper local news talk and we're considering and are considering joining us as part of the volunteer news team as a citizen, journalist, technician, or intern, or as a Peak partner sponsor. Thank you to the Watchman, Chaim Goldman, for inviting me to host today's show while he takes some much needed time off. And also thank you to Salem Media and all the Peak News sponsors. Now, coming up this week on the Peak News, Chaim Goldman is back hosting, and on Wednesday is our Faith and Family Wednesday, and Christy Davis from El Paso County Chapter President for Moms for Liberty will be talking about the rise of the Mama Bears movement in America. That sounds like a great program. And then on Thursday, we'll have our Then on Media and Education Day. The founder and president of Believers Book Services, Dave Sheets, will be sharing from his 30-plus years experience in the publishing industry about how to get your book written, published, and promoted, and why having a book is good business in pretty much every profession. Now, stay tuned as the Larry Elder Show is coming up next on AM 1460, FM 101.1, The Answer. At the Peak, we say the quiet stuff out loud. I'm Stan Vanderwerf for Such a Time as This.